Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. Hemali here, and thank you so much for joining me today. So if you follow me on Instagram, you would know that recently I opened up a lot about my period problems and a condition that I suffer from called PMDD. And I got a ton of messages about it, and I realized that not a lot of people talk about their period really openly. So I thought I should talk about it a little bit more, and I put up a story on my Instagram telling you guys to ask me your period questions so I can answer them in this video. I got a ton of questions, and so I'm going to answer some that were the most common and ones that I found a little bit interesting. Now, before I get into the questions, I just want to say I am not a medical professional by any means. Like, I have no medical background. This is all based off of my opinion and my experiences. So if you have some serious problems, please go talk to a medical professional. I'm really just doing this as a starting point for women out there that feel like they're alone in a situation or don't really know what's happening, and maybe this kind of gives them a little bit of guidance. I wanted to do this video because I want people to more openly talk about their period and realize that a lot of the things that they're going through is normal, and maybe this video will be a starting point for some people to figure out what's actually kind of going on with their body a little bit better. So yeah, I just wanted to make it very clear that this is by no means a professional medical opinion at all. One more thing that I want to mention before I get into the questions is that I did make a separate video talking about how I manage my life around my period, just because the condition that I have can be very, very exhausting, and it requires a lot of, I guess, management. And so I've basically created a routine around my period to help me kind of get through it a little bit better. It helps me stay productive, stay calmer, and helps me rest and relax the way I need to. And for some of these questions, I will be referencing that video because I do answer a lot of what you guys ask in that video. So I'll link it in the description below for you guys to watch after this. Okay, let's get right into it. So the first question is, how did you differentiate the symptoms for PMS versus PMDD? So PMS and PMDD are pretty similar to each other, but the symptoms for PMDD are way more intense. It's like PMS on steroids. It is just really, really heightened. I would say it's more PMDD if it's really debilitating on your life. Like for me, I get super depressed and anxious to a point where I feel like I can't even get out of bed. The depression and anxiety, I feel like, are at more of a constant with PMDD, whereas with PMS, they fluctuate a little bit more. So for me, I feel like I'm pretty much depressed and anxious throughout the entire 2 weeks that I'm going through like my pre-period phase and my actual period. It can be really debilitating. I feel like I can't move through life normally. I get a lot of anxiety attacks. That was another thing that really differentiated for me. Like, I was suffering from so many anxiety attacks. If I'm going through a really bad month, I can probably get anywhere between, like, I want to say like 3 to 10 anxiety attacks within a week. Those are the main differentiators. If you want to see a more detailed explanation of PMDD, I do talk about it in that other video. The most common question I got was, how do you deal with cramps? Personally, I really just power through it. I don't like taking pills. It's just not who I am. I don't like relying on medication if I don't have to. And I feel like if I started taking Advil or Tylenol for my cramps, I would just get addicted to doing that. So I personally just stay away from it. One thing that I personally do to kind of ease the pain of cramps is applying heat to that area. So I normally have like a heating pad or like a hot water bottle type of thing, and I'll just place it on top of like where I'm feeling my cramps, whether it's like back pains or like uterus cramps. I'll place the heat there, and it just, I feel like, eases the pain for me a little bit. And I try to relax as much as I can. I try to lay down, just chill out and not do too much. I know you can't always do that, but I try to do it where I can just so that my body doesn't overwork itself. Another really common question I got was, what do you use? Tampons, pads, or cups? I use pads all the time. I've never tried the cups. I don't really know how they work or if they're good or not. I've heard great things, but I've never tried it. I think I actually might order one after this because so many people ask me this and I've never tested it out. So maybe I'll test it out and give you guys an answer. I avoid using tampons as much as I can. I'll use them if it's like completely necessary. For example, if I'm going somewhere and I need to wear something particular and I can't really wear a pad with it, then I'll use a tampon. But once I heard about toxic shock syndrome, I canceled tampon. That shit scared the fuck out of me. And I mean, it makes sense. Like, tampons don't seem very sanitary. So yeah, pads is the way I go. The next question is, do you find it painful to poo? For me, yes and no. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I think it's super normal if you do find it kind of painful to poo. You do tend to get pretty constipated around this time, especially around like my first couple of days of my period. I get super constipated. After that, it kind of eases up and I'm fine and I'm like pooing on my regular schedule again. But yeah, I think it's normal to feel constipated and for your tummy to just feel irritated. Sometimes I even just get the feeling of constipation, like I don't actually have to poo and I know it because I just went. Moving on, I'm going to answer 2 questions in one because they have a similar answer. So the questions are, how do you deal with migraines and how do you deal with like back, neck, shoulder pains? For me, I absolutely love using oils. I feel like they are my savior. One thing I've used is this jasmine flower oil. Honestly, it's like pretty much almost done. This really helps with my migraines. I know it's not like 100% all jasmine flower oil. It has like some other random things in it. To be honest, I have no idea where it is from. My mom actually gave it to me. She said it helped her and she got it from her coworker who's Filipino. I assume this is like a Filipino brand. I have no idea. Sorry that's not more helpful, but maybe you guys can find another oil that has some jasmine flower in it to help. I just take a little bit of it and I rub it on my head and it really helps release any like tension that I have in my head and like the pounding. It really just helps relax everything. I also have this thing from SAJE called the Pocket Pharmacy and it has a bunch of different oils in it, one of them being their peppermint halo oil, and that also really helps with headaches. And they also have some other great ones for your period in here, the Eater's Digest, the stress release, the pain release. So you basically just take one of these and it has the oil in it and it's like just a little roll-on thing. And you just roll it onto the areas that you need it. And it does come with like a little guidebook showing like how to use it, where to use it, and all that good stuff. But I definitely love this thing. Oils are my jam. So I've used oils on my back, my neck, my head, wherever I've been feeling pain. And I also love to go for massages around this time. I feel like it actually helps my period flow a little bit better. And I'll let my massage therapist know that I am going to be getting my period soon or I am on my period, and they adjust accordingly because you also don't want to be applying too much pressure to certain areas and things like that. I don't know how it works. I'm not a massage therapist, but they understand that stuff. And if I can't go get a massage, then I'll get someone around me to massage me, and I get them to apply the Rub A535. This is like a muscle and joint like heat cream type of thing. So it basically just kind of like gives a little bit of heat to those areas and helps like relieve muscle and joint pain. I don't use this all the time. I use it more so when I feel like the pain is like unbearable. The next question I got asked quite often was, how do you remain productive and positive? I'll give you guys a quick overview of what I do, but I talk about this a lot more in depth in that other video, so make sure you guys go check that out. But basically, I'll schedule my life around my period and make sure I track when my period is coming so I know when I'm gonna be like feeling down and out a bit. And for the 2 weeks that I'm feeling really good and I feel like myself, I'll make sure I'm the most productive then and really do a lot of prep work for when I'm on my period. So when I actually get closer to it, I don't have to do as much and I can take the time to rest and relax as I need and not feel guilty about it. And I'll do a few other things too, like exercise, meditate, I'll change up my diet a little bit. So all of those things I talk about in that other video. And they all really help me stay a little bit more productive and positive. But I just want to make it very clear, like I'm not productive and positive all the time. Like there's a lot of slow moments, a lot of times where I'm just really not feeling myself, and that's okay. Like your body is going through a lot, especially if you're suffering from a condition like PMDD or PMS or PCOS or whatever other period problems that you have. Your body is going through such a change, and you have to take the time to understand that and not be so hard on yourself. Do you take a break from posting when you're going through your period symptoms, anxiety, all that good stuff? The answer to that is yes and no. It really depends on the situation. Some periods are better than others, so I don't really need to take a break. Some periods are worse, so I do feel like I need to take a break. Like I mentioned before, I do a lot of pre-planning so that when I am on my period, there's very minimal work for me to do. So I'll have like posts and stuff kind of set up for that time so that I don't need to think too much about it or do too much work to create it. It'll be more so just posting content that I created from before. And that's kind of how I work around it. But yeah, there's sometimes where I just I don't feel like doing anything at all. And I feel like I can't be on social media. It makes me more anxious and more depressed or whatever it is. And in those times I recognize it and I'll just stay off of it and I won't post. How does your husband treat you? Oh my God, Vikram has been amazing throughout all of this. Me having this condition can also be very, very hard on him because I'm super irritable. I have a lot of mood swings. I have depression. I have anxiety, and it can be just a lot for someone else to deal with. And so he's been very understanding, I find, throughout it all. There are times where he gets irritated or angry or frustrated, and I think that's completely normal because it is a situation that calls for it. But for the most part, I find that he's very patient and understanding. And I do warn him like ahead of time that I'm gonna be getting my period soon. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll put like when I'm gonna get my period in his calendar, just so he knows that it's coming and that like me being like this or acting like this isn't just random and like sporadic. I'm obviously acting like this because my period is coming, and so because he has that bit of warning, it makes it easier for him to be more patient and understanding because he knows that it's coming. Sometimes I feel like we don't communicate these things to the people around us, so they don't really get why we're feeling the way we are. Like they don't see the blood coming out of us, like they don't know we're on our period, so they just assume that we're being like irrational. So I think if you let them know, it makes the process a little bit easier. What's the worst your period has been? Oh my God, there was this one time where I had my period for 4 months straight. It was awful. I was just constantly bleeding. It wasn't like a super heavy flow, but it was like a decent enough flow, and it was just devastating. It was like the most annoying thing, one of the hardest times of my life. I was going through a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression. I wasn't sleeping right, I wasn't eating right, work was really hectic, and there was just so much going on at the time, and it was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to get through. Do you find certain food groups worsen or improve your PMDD? Yes, for sure. Sugar is definitely one of them, and I go into more detail about this in that other video, so definitely go check that out. But yeah, sugar I would say is the key one. There's a few other ones that make it worse, but sugar is the devil. Reducing my sugar reduces my mood swings, my depression, my anxiety, any like mood related things. It really helps lessen that. So watch out for sugar when you are on your period. In terms of improving, to be honest, I haven't really looked into foods that help improve my symptoms, but that's just me. I'm sure there are foods out there that do. You just kind of have to do a little bit of research. Do you work out on your period? And if yes, how? So I like, this is like a yes and no question for me. I will work out pretty consistently before I'm gonna get my period. Like, so the weeks leading up, I'll go at least once a week to the gym, which I know isn't a lot, but for me it's a lot because I never used to work out, and I find that at least going for like an intense workout once a week really helped uplift my mood. And then when it came down to my period, I based it off of like how I was feeling at the time. So this is like a great time if you feel like you can't do a full-on workout to do lighter workouts. Yoga is a great thing to get into, especially during this time, because it'll help really relax yourself and your muscles and all that good stuff, and it'll give you that workout without it being so intense. Are blood clots normal? Yes, they're completely normal. I get blood clots all the time because you have to remember your lining is also shedding at the same time. It's not like just blood, there's like other shit coming out of you, so sometimes it can kind of clot up. If it looks weird or it's getting excessive or you're really concerned about it, I would definitely go get it checked out, but for the most part, they're normal. How do you deal with emotional instability? Honestly, I try to rest and relax as much as I possibly can. I don't like to overwork myself. I feel like that makes me even more irritable and moody and anxious and depressed. And so by allowing my body to rest and recover the way it needs to, it makes me less that way. And I let the people around me know so that they don't do anything to bother me as well. Like I'll let them know, you know, don't joke around with me at this time. I probably won't be able to take it seriously, or, you know, I'm feeling really, really sad right now. Just like be mindful of that. So I'll let people know, I'll talk about it openly, and that kind of makes it a little bit easier too. How do you reduce hormonal acne? I don't think you can completely make it go away. I know people have tried like birth control and things like that. That's kind of up to you if you want to try that. I personally wouldn't, but I don't think you can completely make it go away. I'm sure there's things that you can do, such as like changing up your diet and changing up your skincare routine around your period time. I do a more acne prone skincare regimen around this time just to help reduce the amount of acne that I have, but my acne doesn't go away. Like I'm supposed to be getting my period soon, and you can like fully see a pimple right there, and there's like a few more that I've covered up that you might not be able to see right now, but it's definitely there. What meds have you tried to help your period? I've only tried birth control, and it was like the worst experience in the world for me. Birth control, I would honestly be really careful with. I feel like doctors give them out like Tic Tacs, like they're candy or something, and it's a really powerful drug. So please do your research. Please be very careful with it. Birth control really messed me up. It gave me crazy mood swings. I got severe depression, severe anxiety. I got super suicidal on it. It was awful. I couldn't sleep, and to me, it honestly made my period worse. It regulated my period. That's why I went on it, but it just made everything else worse, all the other symptoms worse. So just be careful. For some people, birth control works, some people it doesn't. I personally, I hated it. It was the worst experience for me. And after going through that whole fiasco with birth control, I just like to keep things as natural as possible. How do you deal with irregular periods, and what does it mean? Usually irregular periods means that there is an underlying problem. Irregular periods, first of all, are pretty common, I would say. I've talked to a ton of women, and a lot of them have told me that they have irregular periods, but I would still go get it checked out. There's so many reasons that your period can be irregular. Honestly, like anything and everything affects your period. It could be like stress, the weather, you know, maybe you're syncing with someone that's living with you. You might have a thyroid problem, you might have a weight problem. Like there's just a million factors that affect your period. I feel like anything and everything can affect it. So it's best to talk to your doctor about this, and then once you kind of figure out the underlying problem of why your period is acting this way, you can go about figuring out how to fix it. Anyways, guys, those are all the questions you had for me. I really hope you guys found this video helpful and insightful, and I'm thinking of actually doing this a little bit more often, where I ask you guys to tell me problems that you're having for specific topics, and then I'll sit here and answer them from my perspective. So if you have any topics that you want me to talk about, leave them in the comments below. Finally, if you did like this video, please do not forget to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel. And as always, thank you guys so much for all the love and support you constantly show me, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!